once again. Today on the GastroCast I'm going to show you how to make a really simple chicken Sambo. Call it a hoagie, call it a submarine sandwich, call it what you want. I'm going to call it delicious. It's a really simple chicken sandwich. BK broiler move aside. We're going to make something really good, healthy, and delicious in our own home. And we're going to make it affordable. So I've got some really nice organic bone-in chicken breasts. And the reason I chose bone-in, got part of the rib cage, part of the bones, a little bit of the wing bone. I chose those because they are less expensive than a boneless chicken breast. And in fact, for this bone-in organic free-range chicken breast, I paid almost $4 a pound for it, which is actually less than the price at my supermarket for regular run-of-the-mill boneless skinless chicken breast. So I can have a better quality chicken, much tastier, and support a better life for the animals. And if I do a little bit of work, and I'll show you how to do it, we can get it for less and enjoy the same thing. And have the bones for some chicken stock later on. Now we're going to combine the chicken breasts, once we've boned them out and cut them in a very unique way, with a red pepper sauce that I'm making already. It's on the go. And just some simple store-bought sandwich rolls, hoagie rolls, submarine rolls, call them what you want. We're just going to try and make something really simple and really delicious without too much hassle. And the other thing is that these two chicken breasts, a little bit odd, a little bit different sizes here, not even. Can't even say that they came off the same chicken. But what would normally be a meal for 1 or 2 people, maybe 3 with this one here, this size, I can actually feed 8 people with, without being too stingy. So this is a really economical way to feed a crowd with something delicious in a hurry, provided you take 1 or 2 steps to prepare yourself. Let's get going. Now the first thing we're going to do is prepare our chicken breasts. Now these are a little bit frozen, which is actually going to help us. I picked these up on a sale and stashed them away in the freezer for an occasion such as this. And I've had them out of the freezer overnight in the refrigerator, and so they're still a little stiff. That'll help us in a minute. The first thing we want to do is remove the skin. It just peels right off. Once the skin is peeled off, you want to find out where the bone attaches. Usually it's in a couple places. Here by where the tenderloin fillet is, which we can pretty much just peel out right like that and set aside for later. And we want to figure out where we can insert our knife to start removing the rib cage and bones. And it's pretty straightforward. Just slide it under the ribs and hug the ribs. It's best to use a little fine-pointed fillet knife like this. That's what they're meant for. And just peel the bones back towards you, working your way in deeper. Go slow, it takes practice. First few times you're not going to be perfect. But with any luck, in very short order, you will have your bones separated and something looks very akin to a boneless, skinless chicken breast. It needs a little trimming and shaping up at this point. You want to trim any fat and any odd little bits of meat off and any bone that might still be on there. Set the skin and extra bones and little bits of flesh aside to make chicken stock out of. You can refreeze those or cook them up or feed them to your dog. Then we've got a still firm, slightly frozen, boneless, skinless chicken breast, which we'll take to the next level. Switching knives, I want a very flat, wide-bladed knife. I'm going to press my hand flat on the chicken breast And I'm going to slice it parallel to the cutting board. The idea being I want to cut the thickest portion first down to where it tapers, and I want to cut roughly through here parallel to the cutting board the first time at about 1/4 inch thick. There's one piece. Then I want to set it back down and make a similar cut, slicing through again. Two more pieces. There's 3 portions for 3 different sandwiches. I'm going to go ahead and prepare my other chicken breast, and then we'll come back and I'll show you the next step. Now that I've got my chicken sliced thinly into roughly 3 pieces, and I've got the 2 tenderloin fillets set aside, I want to pound them to all to the same thickness with my little trusty meat mallet. And to do that, I've put a piece of cling film over them, right over the cutting board. That just helps eliminate splatter and contains the mess just to this area. Don't have to worry about getting it anywhere else. And I'm just going to very gently tap each piece, working mainly on the thicker parts of the chicken to get them to the same thickness as the thinner bits. So everything cooks evenly, quickly, in the same amount of time. Our chicken has been beaten until it's all of even consistency and thin. If you don't have one of those meat tenderizer dealies, you can use the palm of your hand or a rolling pin to beat them and get them to an even, thin consistency. It really is only just to help it cook at the same time and quickly. Meanwhile, I've got the pepperonata on the go. It's almost ready. Heat a glug of olive oil in a heavy enameled cast iron pan. Thinly slice some onions and mince 1 clove of garlic. Add them to the pan and sweat on low heat until soft and melting. Slice a bell pepper into julienne strips. Add to the sweated onions. Replace on low heat and sweat until softened about 5 minutes. Add some chopped marjoram, a can of chopped tomatoes, stir in and season with salt and pepper. Cover and bring to a boil. Then remove the lid and cook on low heat for 20 minutes until thick. Put it on to finish cooking just about the same time I began this. Next thing I need to do is to crack a couple of eggs into a wide, shallow bowl. And whisk them up. This is just going to help bread the chicken. And I've also got some breadcrumbs, which I made using the grater attachment of my food processor. Out of some stale odds and ends of bread that I stuck in the freezer to have for an occasion such as this. I like to put them in a thin layer onto a wide, shallow plate. The only other thing I need to do is to get some olive oil heating in a frying pan and to begin to egg and crumb the chicken breasts so that I can fry them up for the sandwiches. Dipping the chicken breasts into the beaten egg and then the breadcrumbs couldn't be simpler. The only thing to keep in mind, and to keep things from getting really messy, is to use one hand for the egg and one hand for the crumb. Coat the chicken breast well in the beaten egg, drop it onto the breadcrumb, and switch hands. Using the dry, crummy hand to tap the chicken into the breadcrumbs. You can go ahead and do several pieces and keep them on the breadcrumbs while the pan heats or while you're cooking each successive batch. I try to cook only about 3 pieces at once and not to overcrowd the pan, so everything gets nice and crispy and done evenly in the shortest amount of time possible. When the oil is good and hot, take your breaded chicken breasts and lay them in the pan away from you so that any oil that splatters would splatter towards the back of the stove. Cook the breasts in the hot oil until they're golden brown and delicious. Now the chicken breasts are cooking and are almost done. And you can do 2 things. You can either continue to cook the chicken breasts until they're all cooked, keeping them warm in a low oven, about 200 degrees Fahrenheit, until everything's done, and prepare all the sandwiches at the same time. Or you can do what I'm going to do. Take the chicken breasts off and start making the sandwiches while the next batch of chicken breasts are cooking. To that end, I've lightly toasted my roll. I'm going to go ahead and put on some mild provolone cheese right down the center. I'm going to put it in some garden fresh arugula and some of the pepperonata that I just made that's piping hot. And finally, I'm going to top it with one of our chicken breasts. Once the chicken breast's in place, fold the top up over the bottom and get ready to enjoy. It's a little unwieldy in this size, so I think I'll probably cut it in half. I like to make up a platter of these and set them out around a basket of chips or something like that. Occasionally, if it's part of a larger course, we'll serve pasta. We can also make these sandwiches up ahead of time. Wrap them in foil, keep them warm in an oven, and take them on the road to a game or something like that. I like to use the arugula, not only for its peppery bite, but also because it stands up well to the heat of the sandwich. Feel free to use any other kind of green you want, or leave it out altogether. I hope you can see how by purchasing bone-in skin chicken breasts and doing a little bit of the preparation yourself, you can come up with a tasty, economical meal fairly simply. By the time all is said and done, using the 2 tenderloin fillets and all the odds and ends, I'll get about 6 or 7 sandwiches, and that makes for some pretty good economy. Well, that's it from Kitchen Studio for this time. I hope you'll try making the Podchef Chicken Sambo, and come back again real soon. But most of all, keep on cooking. Bye now.